Welcome to the Six Fix Podcast. I'm Digit Murphy, your host of the Toronto Six, head coach and president. I am here today with the chair of the Toronto Six, Johanna Boynton. Welcome to the show, JoJo.
Thank you, Digit. Honor to be here. Very excited.
Oh, it's so fun, right? Like, how cool is it that we get to work together after all these years?
I know. Well, I was just remarking to my family this morning saying, 35 years ago, there were so few teams that played this game. I didn't even dream of, playing in college practically. I mean, my high school, started in sophomore year. It was like, I just love playing hockey.
I know. And now like we're here and you and I get to work together on this amazing project with these ridiculously talented female hockey players and people in life, right? And you really were the impetus for all this. So first of all, I'm grateful for having you, but you're a gem, you're a hero for all these women.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't say hero, but I just do it from my heart. It's playing in the mid 80s and then being involved ever since, right? With advocating and supporting strong women and this game, which is incredibly hard to play. And a lot of people still don't, there's still people who don't know that women play this game. And now to be, working in a professional league with, as you say, amazing humans and amazing people committing so much to this dream, it's really awesome.
Yeah. And, talk a little bit about how you even got involved in women's hockey. I mean, we already know your story. Like, you really have done great things going to Harvard and all that. But then how did you get back into hockey? Like, how did that all happen? Or you could tell your whole story if you want to start from scratch. It's all you, JoJo. You're in charge.
Well, starting from scratch would mean like, what did I do? I had boy friends who were my neighbors. And in Pennsylvania, the ponds froze in the winter. I don't know they do anymore, but every winter we just went and played hockey. I never wore figure skates for a day. And I was super unusual. Just girls didn't do that, right? So I just loved the game. And when I went to high school, the freshman year you played on the ponds. There wasn't an official coach or anything. We had volunteer coaches. And by my sophomore year, we were a program and we got rink time and practice time. And I was a beneficiary of Title IX. And, the colleges were recruiting and in the 80s. And Harvard was one of my choices. And I was super lucky.
Played for Dooley? You played for John Dooley, the Doolapper.
Yep, John Dooley. Again, part-time coach. He was a middle school counselor, I think.
Yeah.
And he was so good to us. And this kind of cobbled together, women who had played, but that there were very few of us. And then we grabbed a few who had, just started in high school and made a go of it. I mean, at that time, there were just not that many teams doing it, but we had a blast. I absolutely loved it. And so really, ever since, graduating in 1988 from Harvard, I stayed involved just as an alum. And what they did at Harvard at the time, sometime after that, was merge the men and the women's fundraising. So the Friends groups, were in charge of raising funds, and it all just went into one pot, which was a huge moment. But what I realized is, we needed to get women to be more involved, both with their time and financially if they could. And this is, it's like a 20-year sort of work of trying to educate and, get everyone to understand how it went. And early on, I said, look, the men are actually supporting us, so we got to start to support ourselves financially. And that took, that was 10 years of sort of education. And, then a lot of the players in the, as they got better and better and things like 10 years out of college, right? They had the first national championship and first Olympics and all these things that just didn't exist when we were in college. And so we stayed involved. I stayed involved in on the college side, and then the Olympic side in 2014. A lot of the players were training in the town next door to us in Bedford. And so we billeted a lot of players. We had Julie Chu at our house staying with us for 3 or 4 months. And next door was Bree McLaughlin. She was staying with a friend of mine. And two down the road were Vetter and Chelsea were with another really good friend of mine. And so all those, we got to know a lot of those players. But in that moment, I learned that the women who were going to play for the Olympics were not financially supported in the same way, as you get NHL players and men going to the Olympics. And there was a lot more support there. And they were going to Sochi, which was a very hard place to get to.
Right.
So we realized that they were like, one parent might go, maybe both. It was really hard financially. So we got together with USA Hockey and developed the Sochi Family Fund. And we did a huge fundraiser in Concord and got families to come, and all the players came and signed stuff, and we auctioned off stuff, and we made as much money as we could make. USA Hockey would match, and that would be the fund for. They had then allocated evenly to all the players, to their families, and so it allowed for many more family members to come to Sochi. And as Digit knows, my husband also has been involved in Russia his whole life and his entrepreneurial life. So Sochi was the perfect opportunity for us to go to Russia and to bring the whole team. We have 4 kids, right? So we all went over there, and we were there for the games and the women, and
so fun.
Yeah, so fun, formative, really formative. It was an awesome experience. And so we stayed in touch with those players ever since, and getting involved in the professional league was just another step of I'm
Advocacy.
so passionate.
Advocacy, like really,
And so much of it is about teaching these young women, or not teaching them, but instilling in these young women the confidence and power behind what they actually can do, and what they actually demonstrate and model for other people, not just little girls, but men, women, boys, girls, all of them. What they do is really phenomenal. And that by virtue of doing that, they're real leaders. They gotta lead.
Yeah. And it's about, I always talk about it being humanity, right? It's about humanity. It's not men or women. It's how do we become good humans? And I think that's what you're saying when you talk about the player's responsibility. And without women like you, it really doesn't happen, because they haven't had the mentoring, right? And I think that that's your gift to them. And this coming into the bubble is just another step in your gift to them. And it is you. And, women are always like, so, oh, it wasn't me, but it is you. It's John. It's the owners, because you need people that have this vision, right? Because, you look at some of these other programs and sponsors, like they can just throw money at it, but throwing money at it isn't the only issue, right? It's how do you pour your heart and soul and your experiences into it to make it sustainable? And that's what it seems like you've been talking about. You made Harvard sustainable. You helped make USA Hockey sustainable. Now it seems like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're trying to get this NWHL to be sustainable, which is why the franchise model is in existence. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And then you touch on a couple of things that were really important to me. One is women's leadership. And for the audience, I don't know, they know you and I ran into each other at a Cornell Harvard hockey game last, I don't know, what was that, January, before COVID hit?
Before COVID.
I started bending your ear a little about what you thought, what you knew.
real.
Honestly, Digit, you're formidable in all your life devotion to this game and to leadership and empowerment for women. So just to have you say yes, and please include in your podcast that you sacrificed a ton to go to Toronto and COVID, and you're separated from your family and lead these women because you love it and you're passionate. And don't do what you said women do, which you don't take the credit.
No,
you take the credit, because you are a really important ingredient in this. But to that end, about the sustainable model is also that I want us as women to say, and they can be men leaders. My husband is a poster boy for feminism and women empowerment. That we built it and we sustain it and we stand on our own 2 feet. We don't need it to be underwritten by something or someone or some league. Let's be who we are. Let's develop and develop and strengthen our fan base and our model so that we can grow over time to absolutely pay living wages and all those things.
And I think what's missing in the conversation up until now is the steps we need to take to get there. You talked about Harvard going through the steps, and I think they always want to, they meaning people, the media, they always want to compare apples to oranges, because men and women's sports are at different points in time, different points in the evolutionary development, different points in the financial model development. So I think it's really important that you and I and everyone else start to be educated on where we're at. And you said it yourself, it's not today, but we're working toward the future payments. And I think a lot of the athletes, even, they want it right now and here right now. And we know as parents of millennials, not their fault, right? And it's what they see, and good for them, right?
Right. Well, and as you say, like women do deserve to be treated equally, right?
Mhm.
As women professional ice hockey players. But because of that doesn't mean you should just be given that this is where I come from,
Correct.
right? But for example, the NHL started in what, 1917. So it's over 100 years old. You don't get to leapfrog over all those years. You have to figure out, this is why we got involved, right? Roll up your sleeves and sacrifice something, whether it's time, money, or both, and figure out how to navigate it such that it actually grows on its own, and we get there. But we have to get there by doing the work. And I've always said to people who ask, like, we want to make it hard for others not to partner with us, right? We want them to want to be part of what we're doing. NHL, USA Hockey, Hockey Canada, like, we should all be partners in advocating for what's great opportunity, great training, great development for girls and women in this game.
Yeah, and you're right, because it's partners. I think you hit on a key word there, because a lot of people want women's sports to be a subset of men's sports. And I personally couldn't disagree more. I mean, we need to be partners. We need to be subscribers, right, to a mission-based philosophy that you just talked about. So I think you're bang on, which is why we are like bread and butter, baby. We are bread and butter. Okay. So let's talk about the greatest thing that you guys are doing right now. Well, we are doing, which is bringing the game to a bubble, first time in history, and television. So, congrats on that. And Tyler, okay, I'm not saying anything, but the Toronto 6 leadership, female leadership, woo. So comment on all this, JoJo.
Well, yeah, let's not miss that Tyler Taminia, our commissioner, is just terrific, a real pro, been in the business of business ops and marketing and sponsorships her whole professional career. And while it's in baseball, she was the perfect fit for the job because she's got the experience and she didn't have any bias coming in, and she could do the job from a business standpoint that was really necessary to get us to the bubble situation, which was her work in Lake Placid. And what a poetic story, right? We're on the 1980 Miracle on Ice rink, and that these athletes can be, some of the rub was, how professional is it? Well, this is going to be a real professional experience, besides all the restructuring of the governance and the affiliation and constitution and things we haven't really touched on, but they're not as flashy and as interesting, but they were really important to establishing this. And Tyler was our chair at the 6, and she went over to be the commissioner. And she's just done a terrific job getting the bubble set up, and we will have COVID protocol and COVID testing and treatment for these athletes in their bubbles, in the hotels for 2 weeks. That are, one, I'm so appreciative of their commitment and their dedication to coming and doing this, because we're at the beginning of a wonderful trajectory for the professionalism of this game. And today is the announcement of NBCSN covering the semifinal and final games in the bubble in Lake Placid.
Incredible.
Just incredible, right?
Incredible.
And that's how I was having the conversation this morning with my kids, because I said, when I was playing college, to say it would have been on national television and women would be playing professionally and be paid to do it, that wasn't even the realm of possible when I was playing. And to
but isn't
see
it cool though? But isn't that cool, right? That not that it's like that your kids, they don't really even think of it as like that big of a deal, right? Because that's kind of a good news, bad news, right? It's always like, of course, like their thought process is, of course it's going to be on television, which is good, right?
Right.
It's just to us, right?
Yeah, we got these millennials. They're all, it's like we're in a social movement right now, right? And advocating for women and the professional sports world, we're just right at the crossroads of something awesome and terrific. And for them, it's like, that's what it should be, right? That's exactly what it should be.
And that's who we need, right? And it's not that we need people like us to die, because at some point we do in order to succeed, right? But it's so cool to be able to jumpstart it. So, I think that it's important on this show to point out the fact that It is historical. It's done by women. You're one of the major players in this. You are a woman. You're at the table. There aren't enough of us there. And, let's do a shout out right now to say, there are teams that are going up for sale. If you are a woman and you want to be part of this conversation, buy a team. And I don't think women think they can even get in the game, right?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent point. The new structure that to set this up is it's mirrored after the NHL. So it's private ownership of teams that then hire a commissioner, and the commissioner runs the teams, and each team has a board of governors member on the board. And that's the way it's run, right? So each team has their own owner and their own local understanding of the markets and support. And Toronto is one, and Boston is one, and there are four more that are, that are going to be sold. And it's an awesome opportunity to really grow with a sport with some amazing young athletes that are just truly admirable to watch.
And I talk about it all the time, and you're a big subscriber to this, but there are different business models and revenue streams that you can do around women's sports that haven't even been created yet. So I think there's a lot of women out there that are in the entrepreneurial space that, if they did want to get involved, could be really cool and fun to be part of, because I think people forget that it doesn't have to be all the same. What the traditional sports model is: sponsorships, ticket sales. There's other crazy things that you and I have already talked about, foreshadow that someday when we actually get into an arena, we're going to get to do. So so talk a little bit before we go about what you think the future looks like the following post COVID. What does our season look like post COVID in your mind?
Well, there's a lot of obviously contemplation about that. My first season actually was last year, being part of, the first private ownership was with the Pride, and watching how to basically work with your fan base, understand your fan base, and understand both ticketing and merchandising and that kind of stuff before even to the sponsors and local sponsorships. But if I, we model this out all the time, and it's really important that, again, you're working towards a model that stands on its own. And we have, in my mind, the future, ideally, we're kicking it off with this bubble, and we got families and fans that want to follow these players as much as these teams. Right. They're filling the stands, and we've got more, relationships locally with each team, so that there is support at that level that I think is harder when they were all under one sort of just one group. And that we over time, we are going to pay the athletes, the players, more and more benefits that will allow for them not to have, additional income in their lives. So projecting out, a few years, that's what I would love to see in our league, and more broadcasting and more support across all the avenues.
Do you see the NGBs, Hockey Canada, USA Hockey jumping on board? Do you see that ultimately, or do you think they still are a little ways away? Because, the Olympians that's always been the rub, right? Well, you don't have the Olympians, but, you and I have talked, and, great people are part of it. And I hope that someday we can all work together. I just didn't know what your take was on that.
Absolutely agree. I think the way I've approached this year is the way I would continue to approach coming years, which is basically because everything is changing and we're kind of reorganizing in a way that's setting up a different structure. We're restarting conversations with USA Hockey, restarting conversations with Hockey Canada, and all these stakeholders, right? NHL, anybody, that is interested in advocating and supporting the women's game. Because wouldn't it be great to have a schedule that actually accommodates the best training and the best development for the best players all across the board, right? So Olympians and national team members, as they're going into an Olympic year, and the schedule is such that they can play. Part of the issue is that we want everybody to be able to play in a league, and if you're playing for something, you develop more. You're working towards something. You're playing for something, instead of going out, and working with your trainer and doing your stuff just to get strong and be, that kind of thing. I think the development of all the players is best if we all kind of brainstorm and collaborate on how to develop them and train them and advocate for the game, for across the board for all the training that they have to do.
Do you think that's our responsibility to do that? Or do you think that it's something that should just like, I'll give you an example of what I'm thinking and you can comment on it. So when the CWHL decided to shut down, that took away 6 opportunities of teams in Canada to play. And personally, I see it as a benefit to have a league that you partner with, right? Because now, post collegiately, you have ways you can evaluate the players. They can be under strong competitive opportunities. They're now fueling your Olympic pipeline. So, is this something that we go to them for help, or do we just keep going and then let them see that what's happening?
I think it's a little of both. I think, we do it, if we do it well and we keep in conversation, we can kind of merge those two interests, right?
Mhm.
And have, the support and the resources behind from all those entities, right? To train and to give opportunity to as many women who want, to have that opportunity and play. So to that end, ideally, we would grow in numbers of teams, right?
Right.
We'd have more franchises. Certainly in Canada, Canada has some of the best hockey players in the world.
Right.
We need more opportunities for them, right there. That's on the doorstep, right? All these things will be part of the growth, as I'm talking about, and then also the garnering of the respect and the acknowledgement from these other stakeholders, like, oh, wow, okay, this could work. And we've talked every year, there's a new crop of young, really talented skaters, players. And that's just going to keep happening. And the college programs are so strong that we need to give them more opportunities to play beyond.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So lastly, let's talk a little bit about the fan faces that the Toronto Six has now. I don't know if you've seen that, Jojo. Like, I don't know if we're gonna have to put one up, or they're only $99. So you may want to.
I was taking my 82-year-old mom to an appointment today, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. How can I help?" And I was like, "Well, you could be in the stands in Lake Placid, Mom. Here's this great program that we're running at the Six." I think it's awesome. I hope I have some fans who are going to sign up and be in the stands. I think it's a wonderful way to get fans connected, get fans supportive. My gosh, Toronto loves their hockey, and then we want to have as many people, sort of participate and be involved as we can in COVID style, right? So we're lucky to have a few examples that before us, have done bubbles and fan engagement. And we have a great group, Digit, you and your staff and everybody just doing great stuff to get our fan base going without even being able to be in the stands.
So the way that you get them is you go to toronto.nwhlzone/ticket. So anyone listening, go buy a fan face. And actually it's a season membership. They get an autographed copy of a picture of a player, their favorite player, and they get content that no one else, exclusive content to the bubble. So yours truly may be on the microphone once again. So
when we make it to the semis and the finals and the national broadcast comes, you want your face in the stand.
That's right.
Players are playing, and we're gonna have all our members there right against the glass.
I love it. I love it. Well, Jojo, I can't thank you enough, for being here, doing what you do for women's sports, women's opportunity. You're a role model. You're a hero. You get the last word on the Six Fix. So what do you got, Jojo?
Oh, well, right back at you. Digit's doing the hard work. She's there and making it happen. Despite the fact you can't have your whole team all at once, we're going to keep working on that. I'm incredibly proud, and it's a big privilege to be part of the Six, and under your leadership, as well as those amazing athletes that you're working with. And I can't wait to get to the bubble, and I can't wait for our first inaugural season, and it's going to be one for the record books.
Okay, well, that's it. I can't top that. So this is Digit Murphy on the Six Fix podcast for Johanna Boynton. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.